Hi, I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and this is Relationship Alchemy. Today we're talking about the key to keeping your relationship strong during hard times. I'm going to introduce a concept that I've spoken about in my weekly live video, but I want to unpack it a bit more here for you on the podcast. That concept is the idea of slow practice and flow practice. So during ordinary times, when your life is humming along in its regular daily fashion, I recommend doing what's called slow practice with yourself and your partner. Slow practice with yourself includes things like meditation, journaling, getting enough sleep, eating cleanly, moving your body, whether that's restorative movement like Qigong or Yin Yoga or Yoga Nidra, or high intensity movement, if that's what your body craves, like HIIT cardio or strength training with heavy weights or dancing full out to a song or a couple of songs, just to move the energy really strongly. These slow practices, journaling is another example of a slow practice. Taking time to take a nap, making sure you get rest and movement in the right balance for your body, making sure you do something to clear your mind, to anchor yourself in appreciation and gratitude for what's working great in your life right now. These are all examples of slow practices to do with yourself, to have you have bandwidth to show up at your best in the relationship. Because when you're whacked out and your nervous system is on overdrive or you're exhausted, it's very hard to be a great partner. There's going to be a lot of need for cleanup because you're going to do and say things out of your overwhelm or out of your overdrive or out of your despair and exhaustion that you're going to have to take back later, right? So it behooves each of us to do the practices that feel good, not because we're shaming ourselves, I have to do this to be a good person, but because we've actually found and committed to the practices that have us feel good. And then we do those so that we show up clear and spacious and can be loving, can access love, which is always humming along underneath the overwhelm and everything else, but sometimes is a little harder to access. Am I right? So the first aspect of slow practice you do with yourself. The second aspect of flow practice are the ongoing things you do with your partner to have your connection stay good and even deepen during the regular, ordinary times. These are things like a regular weekly check-in as described in Brianna Day's episode. I believe it was episode 3. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but in an earlier episode interview with Brianna Day, we spoke about a weekly check-in practice she does with her husband. So I recommend you go listen to that episode, check it out. Another aspect of slow practice with your partner could be doing things like taking a walk together or doing a guided meditation together or even sitting in the same room reading for a while and then pausing what you're reading and sharing with each other what you're learning. Another aspect would be to share appreciations with each other on a nightly basis about each other. There's another wonderful example of this in my interview with Trisha Brook. So go back and listen to that interview for a beautiful practice that she and her husband do each night that they call the threes. These are all examples of practices to do during the ordinary, regular times to keep your connection feeling juicy and good. You could also start a practice of making sure you touch one another when you pass each other in the kitchen. I mean, how often do we start just forgetting to touch each other over time because we're moving so fast? So make sure you touch each other. Make sure you make time to have intimate physical time together, whether that's intercourse or making out or cuddling, whatever you're up for in the moment, but making sure you set aside time to be close to one another physically. Maybe you take a dance class, a virtual dance class in your living room, something that you connect with each other's bodies that's not involving talking so much. These are all ways that you stitch your relationship together during the slow times so that when you have to go into flow practice, you're ready. You're already on the same team. If you need to review the importance of same team in your relationship, you can look back at my solo episode that Patrick and I, my partner and I, did together. That's all about being on the same team in your relationship. I want to talk about flow practice now. So flow practice kicks in when there's a sudden change, when you suddenly have to kick it into high gear and handle a lot of stuff. This could be one of you gets sick, or something happens in the business, or you suddenly have to move, like Patrick and I suddenly moved out of our apartment at the end of January, and we had to organize an entire move with our 2 dogs to another country within a week. That's fast-paced stuff and a lot of details. So that shift into the fast, or what I call flow practice, can happen so much more easily if you've been doing your slow practice along the way, because you're already on the same team. One other thing to do during the slow practice is to work out who handles which details. Like if the shit hits the fan, who's better at booking travel? Who's better at handling the pets? Who's better at knowing where the papers are that need to be collated and brought? Maybe you make sure that you have all your papers in one place in a file so that it's easy to grab. Let's say you suddenly have to be evacuated because of a fire. Are you ready for that? If not, get ready now. Whatever the particular natural disaster is where you live, make sure you're ready for that unexpected weather. Doing this during the slow time will set you up to be able to move into flow practice more seamlessly, on the same team, and you can be more efficient and get more done with less stress. The last thing I'll say about flow practice is blow-ups and disagreements happen. It's high intensity. Acknowledge it, do what you need to do to clean it up, and move on. During flow practice, likely a lot of the practices you do during slow practice will fall by the wayside because you're just handling stuff. And that's okay. You'll get back to the slow practices once you're through this intense peak. So don't stress about not doing all the slow practices when you're in flow, but make sure that anything that comes up between you during the flow practice, you clean it up so that you can keep moving and keep being in flow together for as long as you have to be until things step down again and you can restore and recover and go back to your regular slow practices. This is how you keep your practice strong and connected through hard times. Again, my name is Marie Elizabeth Mali. I'm your relationship alchemist. This is Relationship Alchemy, the podcast. And until next time, remember, a great relationship starts with you.